Madam Acting Secretary, thanks for being with us this afternoon. Thanks for the offer to have a conversation with you yesterday. I apologize that I wasn't able to carry through with that scheduled phone call, but I appreciate you reaching out and giving me the opportunity. My first question is this. On November the 3rd, 2023, the Department of Labor proposed a new definition of fiduciary with a 60-day comment period. I'd like to highlight that the comment period fell over two major federal holidays, which would result in a comment period that was less than 45 actual days. Many industry stakeholders and members of Congress sent letters to the Department of Labor highlighting the shortened comment period and asking for an extension for impacted industries to provide feedback. And despite that pushback, the department declined. It seems that perhaps the Department of Labor wasn't interested in hearing the constituency, and maybe that was because of pushback that the department had received in the past. And instead of extending that comment period, the Department of Labor effectively shortened it even more by holding a hearing on the proposal in the middle of the comment period on December 12th, 2023, requiring industry stakeholders to understand and articulate their concerns to the Department of Labor even sooner. I'm just curious, can you tell this committee why the department is not adequately considering feedback from industry stakeholders and rushing a rule that will significantly impact choice for low, middle to middle income Americans and result in millions of Americans losing access to investment advice?
Congressman, I'm glad that we have a chance to meet today, although we did not connect before this hearing. Thank you for that question. We absolutely want to hear input. I just want to answer that question straight up. There is absolutely no desire, no benefit on the part of the department not to allow full input, feedback, and letting us understand the impact of what we do. That is why we, in this rule, which this rule is a long time in the making, right? This is a rule that there's been informal conversations, and there were prior rules for probably 8 years at least now. But this proposal did include a 60-day comment period. That is that's standard, not just for the Department of Labor's rules, but for rules generally. We did receive over 400 individual comments and just under 20,000 petition submissions. I'm a little bit confused by by what you said about, we did have hearings also, which were meant to invite more comment and give another forum in which to give comment. They certainly weren't meant to say, you have to do it now, and therefore you can't give comments at the end of the 60-day period. They were really more efforts to be open and accessible when it comes to hearing from comments. And in fact, the rule that we've proposed now is different from the rule that was proposed back in 2016.
I'm going to run out of time, so I'm going to cut you off there respectfully. But I have to comment that your words seem different than your actions, because you received a very specific letter asking for more time with what I think is a valid reason, and that is there was two major holidays in between. So I hear your comment, but it looks insincere. Let me ask this question real quick. The Department of Labor reported an improper payment rate of 22% covering the period 2020 to 22, in which federal taxpayers paid out nearly $900 billion in pandemic unemployment benefits, of which GAO has reported an estimated 100 to 135 billion was lost to fraud. What effect, real quick, can you tell us, would the department's 2023 guidance on the application of state finality laws have on how the department calculates improper payments?
Thank you for raising that, Congressman. I know we haven't talked about that at this hearing yet. So the UI system, as you know, right, is a safety net that helps workers get through hard times, temporary periods of unemployment through no fault of their own. And during the pandemic, it both delivered as you mentioned, I think you said almost 900 billion. I think it was like $880 billion worth of benefits. The vast majority to eligible claimants who needed it to get through those extremely difficult and uncertain months. And at the same time, the pandemic revealed gross inadequacies in the system, mostly born out of two things. One is decades of underinvestment in the system. So most states, if not all, the vast majority were operating under, computer programs that were, older than before, that were created before the internet was invented. And because the safety net itself doesn't reach everyone, Congress passed a specific program called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance that has been found where the vast majority of the fraud occurred because it was built in not to have the same safeguards.
Thank you. In respect of the chairman's timekeeping, I'll just thank you for your response there and say that I think that it is all of our responsibilities as appropriators and as secretaries and stewards of the taxpayer dollar that we do everything that we can to limit the horrendous improper payments. And I suggest to the chair we make that a top priority in this session. Thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. And I'm happy to follow up and talk to you about that too, because we have been making enormous steps to make sure that the system can function well in the next crisis. Thank you.